All right, guys. Well, we'll get going so that we're not in the meeting until next Thanksgiving. So a belated Thanksgiving to everybody. Hopefully, everybody had some time either for themselves to reflect, or with family or friends, or whatever their preference was. There was a lot, despite the world being in chaos. I think we can always find something to be thankful for and something to be positive about. And that might be real estate and where it's been and where it's going over the last last 3-4 months. For all of you, well, once we get going here, try to keep yourself muted unless you have a question or we ask people to get involved, which there'll be a couple opportunities through the presentation where we can get people to participate in what we're doing. And I think by now there's not too many first-time Zoom members. I think everybody's had a taste of Zoom and maybe sick of it by now. If you have any questions, there's a chat box there, and I may not be able to get to it because I'll be doing a lot of the talking, at least in the first half. But I'm sure somebody in the group will be able to. I think we're currently we have about 57 people online right now. The RSVPs are at around 110, so we'll have people trickling in as I talk. All right, so like I said, make sure you're muted. Don't be that guy. Nobody likes that guy. So our association, we've worked with a company to put together a vision and a mission. Our vision is financial freedom through real estate investing is attainable for everyone. So we see is that everybody who gets involved with us, we can help them achieve that. Our mission is to create a community of real estate investors and promote an environment that encourages learning, sharing opportunities, and building relationships. We've been online for those of you that are maybe new or our first time on one of our Zoom sessions. We've been online since our April presentation, and we've had some great presenters, but it still is challenging to kind of build relationships when we're just staring at our screens or our phones or tablets. But hopefully we're providing some good information, and maybe some people are connecting because of this. At different points, people will put different opportunities that they have in the chat box. We'll tell you when you can do that. We're refraining from everybody putting their pitch in there, but you will get a chance to either vocalize it or share it through the chat. You can find us in a few different places. You can find us through meetup.com, and that's where we keep the membership group, and that we have 3,000 people that subscribe to our group. And you can also find us on facebook.com/EREIA. So the group is led by the people on the screen there, and you should be seeing my screen. I'm sharing my PowerPoint. So I'll start from the bottom. Linda Hayes, who you'll hear from shortly. She's one of our directors, our newest director. Dan Piercy, which you will also hear from shortly, is the group's another director. Lana Chow is our secretary. Walter is our treasurer. Shanna, our VP, and myself, I'm Ivan Abelar. I've had the pleasure of being the president of the Edmonton Real Estate Investors Association now for 4 years, but I've been involved with the group since about 2006. So I've been around for a long time. I'm just gonna, all right, so a disclaimer. So we always have guests who are presenters with us. You'll hear from myself and a few on the front half, but at the second half of every meeting, we have a guest speaker. Regardless of whether you're listening to us or somebody who voices an opportunity or puts something in the chat, make sure that you obtain professional advice before you jump into anything. For the most part, a bulk of the people that attend our meetings are handle themselves professionally, and they don't throw anybody under the bus. But we never know when there's somebody attending that may have those intentions. So we still caution anything that you hear, and so do your homework. For those of you that are new, stand up. Let's see if anybody actually stood up. When we're live at Chateau Nova Yellowhead, we give the new people an opportunity to stand up, and then we give you a round of applause. It doesn't quite have the same effect when we're on Zoom, but we still welcome you just as much. It's always nice to have some new people in the little boxes. Hopefully you guys have, as many of you have your video on. It's nice to look out into and see other people versus just feeling like I'm talking to myself. What you can expect. So the first thing in a moment here is action takers, and we give people an opportunity to tell us in the last 30 days since our last Zoom meeting, how have you taken action to grow your real estate career portfolio? So we'll give you a moment, give you some time in a moment here. Market update. We'll talk about real estate stats, the mortgage rates, and things related. Linda will give us some economics and whatnot. Once we're done that, then we'll take a quick 2-minute stretch and prepare for our main speaker, who is Carolin Ricciardi today, part of Kardia Real Estate, co-founder and CEO. And she'll be covering some creative real estate strategies. So agreement for sale it will be the main focus, but ways that are creative to grow your real estate portfolio with little to no money down in Canada and even in foreign markets. So that should be an interesting topic. And then we'll close up with deals and steals, where any opportunities you may have, maybe a service that real estate owners or soon-to-be owners would need. Maybe you have a property that you think is a good investment and you want to share it with the group and maybe wholesale it. Maybe you're looking for a joint venture partner. You have the property and you have the credit, but you may need the down payment, or you have the down payment, you need somebody to help get the approval on the financing side. So it takes different parts to make a deal go. So we'll touch on that at the end of the presentation. So if you have any deals, start thinking about what you're gonna share with us. So the news and events is our first feature that we'll start with. We'll start with some economics. There we go. So Linda, I'll let you.
Sure, thanks. I'm ready to go. So I always kind of have been starting for the last number of months going through a bit of a COVID update. A lot of the things that are involved in what's happening affects a lot of our tenants, and some of the great landlords I know when it first started kind of sent emails out to their tenants talking about relief programs if they needed them. And if you do have tenants playing, that are having problems still now that some of the programs have ending, like the CERB, there are new programs out there. So if you have tenants that are self-employed, for example, there's a new Canada Recovery Program. Applications just started this week for this one, and this does help people that don't qualify for EI, maybe they're self-employed, and it is again the $500 per week for up to 26 weeks. So some of the people that were on CERB might now be getting EI, but for people that couldn't get it, there is this new program. So that could help some of the tenants that may not be able to pay. There's also a Canada Recovery Sickness Benefit, 2 weeks if you're sick or if you have to self-isolate for reasons related to COVID-19. So there are a lot of programs out there, and if you're looking for them, try to apply even if you don't know if you're going to qualify, so that could help people in the room as well. So on the next slide, there is a government program in Alberta for small medium enterprises to relaunch. They did approve over 12,000 applications through that program, so it is being well used, which is great. In terms of new voluntary measures, a lot of you probably have, I'm sure everyone's sick of hearing about this in the news, but workplaces now say wear a mask unless you're alone or you have appropriate barriers. Keep family and social gatherings small, and they're recommending no more than 15 people. So I'm interested to see what happens for events such as this, because before it was kind of 40 people that people were starting to see events with. Now that they're recommending only 15, it might make these kind of events last a little bit longer. And then they also say limit cohorts to no more than 3, which is your household, school, and one other sport or social cohort. So these are all voluntary, so we'll see how those impact things going forward for businesses. One other thing I didn't have in the slide that I'll just touch on because I just saw this today is that Airbnb has a new cleaning protocol for hosts that's mandatory, and if they don't sign up for it and say they're doing it, they'll be removed from the platform. So anyone who hosts on Airbnb has to do it. So today I just sent out the cleaning checklist to my cleaners, telling them all the new things they have to do, including wearing masks and gloves as they clean, sanitizing, cleaning the vacuum after each use, all these kind of things. So yeah, that'll be kind of interesting. So some other grant programs out there. So the federal government has topped up business relief program for Western Canada. So I had a few details in the slide here you can look at if that applies to you. And it's basically to help people that are not eligible for other federal programs. So that has been announced recently. And on the next slide, the construction project updates, these are more exciting than the COVID updates at times. So there was one more hurdle that just was cleared for the West LRT. So this is exciting for investors that are along the route that's going to be coming into West Edmonton, which of course that's where all my rental properties are, on the West End in Lewis Estates and Rosenthal area. So the provincial review was passed. There's only a few items outstanding, so they're hoping to sign the agreement shortly. As most people know, it's going to go from downtown by West Edmonton Mall into Lewis Estates, where there'll be the park and ride. And the city says in the news articles they expect 5 to 6 years of construction. We know that, you know, whatever they expect never comes to fruition, but that's what they're expecting, and they're expecting to start early next year. So that's pretty good news anyway for the city, because obviously it creates jobs too, so we like this kind of stuff happening. And then in terms of the economic update, we know it's never been really good very, very often right now. Alberta overall unemployment down slightly in September, 11.7 versus 11.8, so pretty much the same. Edmonton and Calgary, Edmonton is down from 13.6 to 12.6. Calgary's also at 12.6, but they were at 14.4. So they have seen a little bit more of an improvement. In terms of the stats coming out in the news, more than 8,500 businesses closed in Edmonton and surrounding areas between March and May this year, according to Stats Can. So I guess not a big surprise probably to people, but just kind of scary to see the numbers of what's going on. And we know as things change, a lot of things could still get worse, right, as deferrals and whatnot change. That was talked about at the beginning of the meeting. In terms of vacancy rates, you can see a lot on commercial. There's not really anything out on residential. CMHC should come out with stuff later in October. But in terms of commercial, the Alberta, in terms of Edmonton, is just below 20%, Calgary just over 25%. In downtown, they talk about Edmonton, and there was a slight drop in vacant office space. I mean, just 19.7 to 19%. Calgary is nearly at 30%, so that's really bad for the people that obviously have commercial real estate. We don't know what will happen there, but they do talk about the trend of increasing subletting, so that has been more common as well. So I'm sure other people heard too about the Suncor layoffs, 10 to 15% of the workforce. They're planning to do it over the next year and a half. They were going to do this anyway, but they've basically, because of everything going on, the oil prices, the global pandemic, everything else, they've basically just accelerated their plans. So not good news for a lot of workers on that front. And another one I didn't put in here because I just read it today is Alberta Health Services is doing huge layoffs as well. So that's another one that's not on the slides, but coming up. And obviously we might see more of those going on as well. And I mean, Dan, I know is going to cover this. I just put some brief stuff because I know Dan will go through these in more detail. And you already mentioned this one about Alberta has the highest number of mortgage deferrals in the country. And as a real estate investor, I deferred a few mortgages early in the pandemic. And once those came off, I deferred more because you could still do it in September because it just pushes out my mortgage and they're tax deductible. And I've checked my credit report repeatedly. It has not affected it. And I made sure when I did the first one that it didn't. And I mean, it's been very good for me because it allowed me to get an emergency fund a lot bigger than I had before. Another article I found is COVID talking about Calgarians looking to buy houses that can accommodate multiple generations, so garage suites and basement suites. So as investors that have these in our portfolio, that's very good. I'll talk actually in the action taker section about how I've been finding this because I'm actually selling one of my houses with a garden suite right away here. And Moody's Analytics, their report calls for house price tumble of 7% in 2021. So it talks about the dangerous oversupply in single family homes in Calgary and Edmonton. One thing I like to talk about, or I'll like to talk about here is that take the news always with a grain of salt. Don Campbell from the REAIN Network has always said, look behind the curtain, don't believe everything you hear in the media. And Ivan, I think, will talk about how, house sales have been really, really good to date. So none of us have a crystal ball to see how it'll go. But obviously it's interesting just to see what the media says because it does impact what people may do and how they make their decisions on buying. So I know some of my, the investor focused realtors I deal with say their portfolio has shifted a bit to more home buyers versus investors. So that's a shift that they've seen. So obviously we'll see how it continues to go on. Thank you.
All right, Linda, thank you. Oop. Now the following is a video that I has my real estate coach, and it touches on where the market has gone. I guess in Q2. Well, it'll cover the whole year up to this point, but it just how Q2 and Q3 look in comparison also to last year. And though the information is geared towards realtors, as investors, it's important to know where the market is going and where it's come from, and how that's affecting the market in the next quarter. And that'll affect whether you should be buying or selling or how you should be, I guess, approaching your real estate investing. So I'll cue this up.
Hey everyone, Richard Robbins here. The numbers are in for Edmonton for the month of September. Now I'm going to do something a little different as I try to keep changing these videos up a little bit to deepen your understanding of what's happening in the market. First of all, what I'm going to do is I'm going to talk about each quarter, the first 3 quarters of the year, and how they actually compared to each other. Obviously, generally the second quarter is the busiest quarter of the year. Not so much going to be the case this year. I'm also going to share with you, what about year to date? In other words, if we compare the first 3 quarters in terms of total sales, where do we stand year to date opposed to 2019? So let's get started. Of course, why we start with your January right through to September, what's going on? Well, you can see here we did 1,873 sales in the month of September, and I'll compare this to last September in just a moment. But you can see what happened. Obviously June, July were very strong this year. They were the 2 biggest months of the year in terms of sales. And then it's still pretty strong here, 1,881, 1,873. Numbers are looking good. You can see inventory was down here a little bit, 7,200 from 7,500 last month. But that's good because that's bringing down your months of inventory, which is going to start to strengthen your price. You're sliding into seller's market territory here, where your prices are going to start to slightly strengthen. You can actually see what's been going on, 370, 374, and now 377. So I'll summarize at the end what I think is going to happen with prices. But look at this. If we go back to 2019, we do the September was 1387. Look, we went to 1873. We're up by 35%. So September of this year over last. Big number, very healthy number. What about this? Your price year over year, 352 to 377, up by 7.1%. Again, a very healthy number. Now let's look at this. Let's look at the quarters. Q1, we had 3,022 sales. Q2, we did 3,958. Now, generally, we would all agree April, May, and June, the second quarter, would be the busiest month of the year. But it didn't happen because of COVID, right? This is where we slowed down. But look what in Q3, we went to 5,110 sales in the third quarter. That's an increase of almost 50%. But look at this. Even if we compare, we are at 356 here in terms of price. The average price in the second quarter, average price is 374. So just quarter over quarter, it's up by 5%. So again, very healthy numbers you have. Look at this. If we look at 2019, at the end of September, we've done 13,363 sales. But we haven't quite caught up, okay, to that yet. We did 12,900 at the end of September of 2020, which is down by 3.5%. So if I look at your market in Edmonton overall, I'd say you're in a very healthy market because let's face it, chances are the month of October and November and December could potentially be a little stronger than last year, which means we could make up this 3.5%. So there's a very good chance that we're going to come in around the same or maybe even slightly above what we did the year before, even with losing about 2.5 to 3 months of sales because of COVID. So overall, here's the deal when I look at Edmonton. I say, number one, your sales are very healthy right now. Your inventory is very healthy. You're slightly moving in to seller market territory. Now, again, that's probably going to be more in the mid-price detached type of properties. And I look at you're going to continue to have price increases probably over the next little while. And there's a good possibility we'll come in terms of sales almost exactly what we came in 2019. So think about that. Here we get COVID, lost about 2.5 to 3 months because everything slowed down, picked back up again. But if you look at this year overall, Edmonton is very healthy right now, and I think will remain to be healthy for the next little while. Now, we're now into what? The second wave of COVID. So a lot of people go, what's going to happen? Is it going to happen back what happened in the middle of March? And the answer to that, I believe, is no. Because see, middle of March, we didn't know what to expect. We're all panicking. We're crazy worried about our health. You know, we're all staying at home. We're afraid to go out at all. And let's face it, now we've got used to this. Not that it's easy, not that we don't want to get back to normal, but I think most of us now realize that we can operate even as we move into the second wave, and we can still help people buy and sell homes, even if we're starting to do that virtually. So I think the next couple months are going to be okay. It will start to slow down as we move into the end of the year, as it always does. But I'm looking at it saying, Edmonton, you've had a very good year, very positive real estate market. So congratulations. And remember, everybody, it's a beautiful life. Make it count.
All right. Hopefully you find that useful. It's something that we share with our real estate team. I'm one of the owners of this brokerage, and so I get to see how our agents are doing. And I can tell you that you know, the stats don't lie. The market has been very strong, and you know, when's that going to end? You know, that I can't tell you. But you know, those of you that you know, are you know, do forecasting or are, you know, maybe about to, you know, start a project, you know, this is invaluable information for you to, you know, plan, you know, when you want to complete the project. If you're doing a flip, you know, maybe you're looking to just grow your portfolio and how to time things when, you know, there's always some downtime in the market. I think Richard's correct in assessing that, you know, we're probably going to have October numbers that are better than many Octobers past, and probably November. So the back half of the year is probably going to be much better than you know, probably the last 3, 4, 5 years. but it had a lot of room to make up for having 2.5 months off. So I use that information to make some, I guess correct decisions in the next little bit. Dan, are you ready?
Ready to go, Ivan. Thank you.
No problem.
All right. Hello, everyone. My name is Dan Piercy, and I'm here to share the recent and numerous changes and relevant changes in the mortgage industry that will help you in your real estate investing career. A broker can offer you many, many different choices and help you navigate through all the recent changes and making sure that you get the best possible solution. Because at the end of the day, no two sets of circumstances are exactly alike. So I love this. There's still a myth out there that people think that when you use an independent broker and not use your bank, that you're actually paying for our services. And that is absolutely a myth. Our services to you are free. We work in your best interest at all times. Okay, Ivan, next slide, please. Okay, Bank of Canada interest rates. Currently, the prime lending rate sits still unchanged at 2.45%. And that's a very important number to use when calculating your variable interest rate, because most lenders are offering prime less some type of discount. And we'll get into that at a slide later on. And again, the current overnight rate as of October is 0.25%, and there have been no changes to that. As a matter of fact, there's also been some talk that the Bank of Canada may be open to entertaining the thought of negative interest rates. That's only just a thought at this point in time. So where are the interest rates going for the rest of the year? Their scheduled dates for interest rates are Wednesday, October 28th, and then the last one is Wednesday, December the 9th. So those are the dates where the Bank of Canada reviews where the economy is and whether or not they're going to make any adjustments. Speculation right now is that there's going to be status quo for the next little while. Okay, rate forecasts are only estimates. No matter how well researched and modeled an economist prediction is, only an educated guess, and at best, perhaps similar to where the weather forecasters are, and you know how accurate the weather forecasts tend to be. And again, the further into future a prediction is, the less precise it is. At the end of the day, the economists are guessing that interest rates will not rise anytime soon. The bank rate is well below what would be considered a normal range, according to the Bank of Canada Governing Council. And judging that the policy interest rate will need to rise over time into a neutral range to basically achieve the inflation target. Again, this policy implies that once Canada emerges from our current recession, that perhaps interest rates will rise then, but for now, they're not going to go anywhere up. Okay, bond yields. We always talk about that. Currently, if you look at this particular slide at the very bottom, we're basically just at around that 0.38%. Currently in Q3 of 2020. This forecast takes us out to the year 2022. And as you can see, it still doesn't take us anywhere close to where it was at the height of 2.3%. So again, this is an indication that interest rates are forecasted for at least the next couple of years to stay relatively low. Okay, 5-year fixed rates, which are tied directly to the bond rates. Again, right now we are sub 2% for a 5-year fixed mortgage, forecasting out to 2 more years. They're saying no higher than 2.43%. Again, keep that into perspective. Anything under 3% is a very attractive interest rate. And because of the economy, because of COVID, because of the US election, so many uncertainties out there, interest rates are forecasted to stay low. What about variable rates? Variable rates now currently sit at around 1.9% as of Q3 of 2020. And guess what? That forecast is estimated to stay flat for the next 2 years. So quite often as a mortgage broker, I'm asked the question, fixed or variable? There's so many different factors that come into that. A lot of it basically is dependent upon your risk tolerance. Historically speaking, however, Most people who have chosen a variable rate as opposed to a fixed rate have certainly come ahead in the last 10 to 15 years. One of the biggest advantages as a real estate investor that you should always be considering is to choose a variable rate simply because of this. The maximum interest penalty to break a variable rate mortgage is only 3 months interest. Whereas if you're in a 5-year fixed, there's so many different factors. And if you're with a big bank, they do a calculation called the interest rate differential, which can be a very, very costly way to break your mortgage. Next slides. Okay, how many recent mortgage deferrals will turn into defaults? The mortgage deferral program was not extended as of September the 30th. However, lenders will rely on other default management tools as necessary. This is key. Some lenders will extend deferrals on a case-by-case basis up to 4 months. So it's imperative that you as a borrower do speak directly with your lender. There's other default management tools such as special payment arrangements are available, but not the insurer's first choice. For example, extending your amortization. CMHC, Canada Guarantee, Mortgage Insurance, and Genworth have created something called the Default Management Playbook, which is covering a lot of these extenuating circumstances and ways to basically continue to defer your payments based on a justified reason. The document aims to assist lenders to help borrowers, although not necessarily with a deferral plan, but simply to help them out. Because at the end of the day, the lenders and the insurers do not want to become property owners. They will do everything in their power to make sure that you've exhausted all of your opportunities before your mortgage goes into a default. Okay, Linda brought this comment up and I'm glad she did. I opted to defer my mortgage and or credit card payments. Will it affect my credit score? And this is a question we get asked quite frequently. So again, all deferrals must be negotiated with your lender. You need a formal agreement, file ID or reference number, and the name of the agent with whom you spoke. Absolutely key. This is important. It's easy and it's quick to destroy your credit, but how long does it take to correct your credit? It can take months. So don't wait until you need the credit to check it. Everyone should be checking their credit scores minimal once per year. Reporting can differ between institutions. Don't be an ostrich. Don't put your head in the sand and simply hope that your problems will go away. If you see a late payment, call your lender first. Don't call the credit bureaus, call your lender. It could be an error. For example, if you're a person who has moved around a lot and you had a cell phone bill and it went to your old address and for some reason you weren't on automatic payments, you forgot to make your payment, and then you basically 3 months later realized, oh, I need to pay my cell phone bill. Well, that is going to show up on your credit bureau. Add a consumer statement to explain why you are also in dispute. Again, your credit is your responsibility. It's no one else's but your responsibility. So make sure that you're actually checking your credit score once per year. Now, when you do that, Equifax and TransUnion do have a service where they do provide you with a once-a-year credit check. Also, it's also really important to note the difference between a consumer credit check and a mortgage broker's credit check. They differ greatly. The last thing to remember is that another good reason to pull your credit scores is to basically identify any type of fraudulent activity you may have on your credit score as well. Okay. Early mortgage renewals are more common this year than they ever have been in the past, simply because there has been such a huge gap between clients' current rates and the rates that are now currently available. We're seeing some mortgages that were basically done 3.5 to 4 years ago, where they're in the range of say 3.79%, whereas the best rate today you can look at is say 1.89 or 1.85. So in August, there was a significant increase in renewal requests more than 4 months before maturity. So in other words, at 160 days prior to your maturity date, that's where you should really typically be looking to say, where are options available? Does it make sense for me to pay out my interest penalty early and get into a lower rate? Before the pandemic, most borrowers renewed at end of term with their current lender. And again, I caution you, one of the most elementary mistakes that people can make is signing their initial renewal offer. If you do that, you're paying too much and you're padding the bank's pockets. During and after lockdown, more borrowers were willing to pay lenders penalties to break their mortgages and change to lower rates for a new term. The central bank's inflation targeting strategy is playing a crucial role in this. Okay, I thought I'd throw something new this in this particular presentation, just a little fact. Did you know? So what happens, and Ivan, if you can just sort of stop here before you advance the next slide here, if you can. What happens to your home if you pass away without a will? I can just throw that open. Does anyone want to just sort of hazard a guess right now?
Your ex-wife gets it?
That can work the other way too, Sean.
That was Gert.
Oh, that was good. Okay. Any serious guesses? It goes to your estate. It could go to your estate, but that's not the answer I'm looking for.
Dimesel.
It goes to the courts. Okay. That's
Does it go to the government and then the government sells it for you or something? Is that what happens?
we've got two very, very close answers here. One says it goes to the government, and Mike says it goes to the courts. Well, the province in which you live in determines where your home goes to. And if that's not in your best wishes, that's why it's absolutely important to have a will. Ivan, can you advance the next? So to avoid a dying intestate, and that's what it's called when you die and you don't have a will, does it go to your heirs? Does it go to the lawyers? Does it go to the estate taxes? Does it go to your creditors? Depends on how this title is registered. Okay. The answer that I found, if you can advance the next slide. The province decides for you. So if you want to make your own decisions and your wishes come true, it's absolutely imperative that you have a will. So part of my role as a mortgage broker, every mortgage transaction must involve a lawyer to close it. But at the same time, if it's a first-time home buyer, and if they have children especially, I always say, hey, when you're in there signing your final mortgage papers, perhaps you need to have a conversation with your lawyer to find out and get started on a will. Because if you don't have a will and you wanted alternate plans for your possessions and you don't have a will, the province will decide where it goes. Okay. Okay, where are we with the interest rates currently? 5-year RICS, 5-year fixed range from 1.79 to 2.09, and the variables are at prime, which is 2.45, less 0.75 to less 0.30. And again, for rentals, lenders are surcharging rates by 10 to 20 points, and for refinances, 15 to 25 basis points. A lot of the rates that you see, if they're publicized on the internet, those are some rates available. But remember, when you're working with an independent broker, we have rates that are not necessarily publicized. They're called unpublished specials, and we do see those on a very regular basis. So just make sure that you've looked at all the possible options out there, because at the end of the day, it's not about the interest rate, it's about the lowest cost of borrowing and being aware of everything, all the options that are available for you. Okay, before we go to the break, any questions with regards to the material I've covered off, or for Linda or for Ivan?
Hey, Dan, I got a question for you.
Sure, fire away, Gert.
I was watching this program here, but is mostly dealing with the states here on guardianships, how the government can basically, it goes to the saying, if you don't have a will here, how the government basically can put a guardian on your property and basically takes over your whole life. This guy pretty well lost everything to a guardian that he really didn't even know. Is that something that can happen here in Canada too?
Not to my knowledge, no.
Okay.
That'd be scary.
Yeah, it was a very scary program.
Wow. Wow.
Any other
Last
questions?
call. Last call for any questions? Don't be shy.
You have to
We're all
unmute.
friendly here.
Yeah, mute to do ask the question. Remember. I think what we'll have to do is I must have blanked out the slides where we had the action takers. So that should have been before Linda. So we'll do that now. So what that is that what we ask you to unmute and tell us if you've taken some action when it comes to real estate in the last 30 days since we last had our last Zoom. And that might be as simple as just got in touch with a mortgage broker and got pre-approved, and now you know what you can afford and what you can do. Maybe it's you've bought 3 properties or an apartment building, or sat down with somebody and hammered out a deal where you're going to work together in buying some properties. So if you have something that you want to share that you're proud of, or then unmute and you have 30 seconds to give us the lowdown on how you took action. Don't be shy.
I can go first.
Yeah.
So I've done a couple things in the past month. So the first one was I've been doing a lot of research on international investing through the Real Estate Radio Guys program. And I first bought a piece of land in Belize where I'm going to be building fairly shortly. I'm just waiting for prices from the project manager. And then last week I decided to buy another much cheaper lot that's more of a land hold for $30,000 just because it seemed like a good thing to do. And it's all vendor financing, so agreements for sale. So you pay very low down payment. And then at the same time, I decided to sell one of my houses with a garage suite. And it literally was telling my realtor that, hey, I might want to sell one of these. Don't want to list it, just send it out for feelers. And that was on Tuesday. On the Friday, he had 3 viewings, 2 offers. So I've been working with Barry, who I know is on the call, to do the agreement for sale, which the inspection's happening tomorrow, and that one would sell. And the only reason to sell it, I mean, it has huge cash flow, but I need land, or I need cash to build on the land in Belize. So that's kind of what I've been doing.
Nice.
If anyone wants more details, sign up for my newsletter because I put lots of information into there on all the different things I'm doing. And I have been talking to a lot of investors this week too that have connected with me on tiny homes and all kinds of other things.
Have you been to Belize, Linda?
I have stopped on a cruise. And actually, that's an interesting question because people said, well, did you, like my realtor from Mogul is actually looking to invest in Belize as well from talking to me, the guy that's selling my house. And he said, but I need to go there first. I said, well, I ran numbers and it works. I don't care if I go there because I'm not living there. It's an investment for me. If I go there and I want to live there, I might build something a bit different though. So I do have a trip booked in March to kind of figure out, I'm doing my first build as a 1-bedroom vacation rental. But afterwards, what I build after depends, do I actually want to go there for retirement or not? So yeah, you have to go there if you want to live there. If you're investing, you have to run numbers, do tons of research, talk to qualified realtors, lawyers, etc. But other than that, yeah, I haven't been to the place where I bought the land, but I mean, the realtors are great there. They do everything virtually, podcasts, and I guess it's similar to what, I mean, with Barry doing the agreement for sale here, I haven't even met Barry to do any of the paperwork and it's all pretty much almost done.
Beautiful. Yeah, I've been to Belize once. Beautiful country, but yeah, you even though you don't go there, just make sure you do your homework. Every country seems to have its own little loopholes and potential traps. But yeah, you're right. You don't have to actually physically go there to make a good investment. Anybody else?
Ivan, just a question for Linda.
Yep.
What is her newsletter to sign up for?
So yeah, if you just give me your email, and people are asking if I have a link to it, all you have to do, I'll put my email in the chat and just email me. I'm working on a subscription right now. I have about 167 people I send it out to. It's mostly from doing real estate lunch and learns at places I've worked, like the city of Edmonton and ATB and Service Credit Union. But I know a lot of people on the call get it. But if you just, I'll put my email, you just send me an email and I'll add you to the list and I'll send out September so that people that didn't get it can have it.
Thanks, Linda. Any other people take some action over the last 30 days?
I'll go.
Okay. All right, Gert, I was just thinking about you.
So we did a couple of agreement for sales. we got an agreement for sale on a acreage just past Stony Plain. And a week later, sold it to a real estate agent who wanted to live out there.
Nice.
We just finished the fix and flip, or sold our fix and flip that we were doing in the West End here. People took possession on actually last Friday. So that's off and going. Did an agreement for sale here on a townhouse, something you don't like, Ivan, the townhouse business. But did an agreement for sale on that, turned out really well. And looks like we have another business interested in our Swan Hills project. We started off the year with one person, and now we're looking to be up to 9. So that's it.
Perfect. Anybody else?
Sure, I can go next, Ivan. A good friend of mine purchased a property down in Panorama, and that area has always been of interest to me. And he made me aware that a unit came for sale that is a very rare find. And I spoke to his brother who lives in Ottawa and who bought a property there 2 years ago and runs it on Airbnb. And my whole intent was to run the numbers. And Linda, I love your comment there. It's all about numbers. And you have to realize what the intention of buying a property is for. And at the end of the day, I wanted to conclude that if I was able to buy this property and run it through Airbnb, could it become self-sufficient? And at the end of the day, my conclusion was no, based on the average number of days that those properties typically rent for during the high seasons. And I also concluded that people who buy these typically buy them as a final retirement destination. So when you've got that in mind and they do cover your operating expenses, then perhaps it is a great investment. But from simply just a investment that would carry itself, the numbers didn't make sense. So my message here is always run your numbers and try to get someone who has also been in the same position to share their story with you as well.
Perfect. Good advice. There was 2 individuals that were at our last Zoom meeting that wanted some kind of to consult on numbers and on different potential opportunities. And I hopped in with them and we did 2 joint ventures in the last 30 days that we hope will benefit both parties, and I'm sure it will. The numbers look good. So yeah, that was something in the last 30 days. Anybody else?
I'll go next here. Mike Fiquette with Fiquette Homes. This month I finally completed a complete price out of a 4-plex, which is actually a 6-plex in an infill situation for a couple different investors who've been interested in what I could build these buildings for. And I hope to release that to everyone in the group sometime soon, and do one for a duplex soon too, to see what development potential could even be for people. So intend on turning this into a true pro forma. Have a couple guys who really like my numbers, so I know my numbers really good, and you get 6 doors of rentals on a corner lot in an infill scenario. So anyway, that's what I have on the go, and thank you.
Perfect. Last call for one
I can
more.
go. Hi, everyone. I'm Clark. I don't have anything super major, I guess, on the go. I recently moved to Alberta, so I'm kind of reaching out to investors and started building up a campaign to bird dog leads and work my way up into wholesaling and eventually investing in a property. So I'm kind of just getting started with it all, but I've been taking action recently to do that and to move forward from there.
Beautiful. All right. So we'll take a couple-minute break, and then we will have Carolin Ricciardi take over. And I'll leave her bit of a bio here on the screen for you guys to read as we're just waiting to transition our PowerPoint and letting everybody have a quick stretch. So go top up your water or your drink of preference, go to the bathroom, and then we'll get rolling here in about 2 minutes.
So Ivan, have you been pretty busy or?
Yeah, I was busy. I was busy in June, and then I petered out July. Then I was busy again in August, September, and October's been busy. So yeah, there's been all kinds of different kind of things that have, I guess, jumped off on my plate. I think, some of it's come down to some people kind of panicking, because I mean it's a climate for some people to kind of be a little bit unsure, and some opportunities kind of just open up because people just want to unload stuff, and right now there's a lot of people looking to kind of take advantage of good deals. You've been busy?
Well, it hasn't been a slow summer, that's for sure. I mean, this COVID that everybody's talking about, for some reason I must have missed it. But yeah, we've been pretty steady here. So just in the process of building a legal suite right now. So that's always takes 2 or 3 months with these permits with the government and everything. Just takes forever, it seems.
Yeah, that hasn't sped up.
The what?
That hasn't sped up the city office
No.
or community offices.
No, that sure hasn't.
Carolyn, I've transferred things to you if you've noticed.
Wonderful, thank you. I will set up my PowerPoint.
Ivan, I had a quick question for you, if you don't mind.
Yep. Sure.
Yeah, I was just curious, like all these months of inventory and stuff that we look at every month here at EREIA, do you guys as realtors ever look at like lot supply inventory and how that will like futurely impact the supply market of actual houses or not?
There's not too many. I mean, I don't come across too many conversations about that.
Yeah, yeah. I
mean,
it's very interesting. There's a real shortage of new land being supplied with services right now.
Oh.
And I'm hearing this from all the big developers as me and my dad meet them to talk about purchasing land for the greenfield stuff. And there's a drastic shortage of the stuff. And I'm wondering how that impacts the current market. If new land isn't serviced to build houses on, how does that affect the current market?
What I can tell you is that on the different forums of just like the real estate, the realtors, there's a bit of a love-hate relationship with new build and developers, and there's little sympathy, I guess, that a lot of realtors have with new build. It can put a wrench into resale markets. I've had retail clients that have built and then in some of those communities where building still continues with the cookie cutter houses, it really affects the resale of a property, even if it's 3 years in. So outside of realtors that work directly with the builders,
Yeah. I'm different because I got like a middle view for it all.
Yeah. I mean, you're not the guys that are just pushing out hundreds of houses a year.
No.
Not
anymore.
Yeah, you're niche, and then also you're located more in locations that are more infill locations, and more so than not.
All right, thank you.
Yeah.
Ivan, maybe while we wait, I can just make a couple quick comments. Would that be all right? So, I've put a comment of our website. I say at every meeting we have, if you have a chance, go to our website, www.altiscommunity.ca, ALTICE community.ca. We're doing a wonderful development in Eau Claire. And if for those of you that are realtors that might have clients that are looking at townhomes, duplexes, I have an amazing design for a duplex that I haven't put up yet in the website, but I really want to make Eau Claire the new grease ball yeah, where we're building. So if you have clients that are looking at buying townhomes or duplexes, beautiful duplexes that are suitable for seniors, main floor master bedrooms, please have a look at the website and give me a call. We'll have the duplex design up in the next couple of days. But and give me a call, come have a look at what we're building. I think you'll love it and you'll love to show your clients, okay? Just quick update, okay? Thank you.
Carolyn, should we, are you ready to get rolling?
I am ready.
All right, so folks, we'll get going here and have Carolyn take over the presentation here for the back half. As you can read, Carolyn, one of the founders and CEO of is it Kardia Real Estate?
Yes, that's correct.
Yeah, and so obviously entrepreneur, involved in real estate, an author and a coach and a speaker, and looks like she has many focuses that go along with real estate and empowering women. All great focuses, but today she's gonna give us a little peek into the how to, I guess, approach real estate a little differently, and well, maybe I'll just let her kind of take it from there, and she can probably better explain it than I can.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Ivan. I appreciate the opportunity to be here, and especially for Lana for inviting me to be part of your meeting tonight. I'm grateful to be able to share my story and my journey so far in real estate. And my intention is just really to inspire people, anybody that's new or, on the fence in terms of some goals that they might have, that really anything is possible. So like I said, I'm very excited to be able to share what I have been doing. So I'm just going to switch over to my slideshow, and we will get started, because I know from what I heard, it sounds like a lot of people are very familiar with agreement for sale. And agreement for sale is something that I have been doing for the last 2 years full-time here in Canada. So I'll just, before I get into that part of the business and what I'm doing in my entire portfolio, I wanted to share a little bit about myself, because there's a few people in the group that are very familiar with me, and then there's a lot of really new faces. I'm actually based out of Calgary, Alberta, as you guys would have seen in my bio. But like I said, my intention is just to share my journey, and hopefully through what I'm doing and what I have been able to do through creative real estate, it can inspire any of you guys with your goals and your what you're trying to acquire in real estate. So first of all, like a lot of people, before I went full-time into real estate, I thought that I needed to have a lot of money to be able to be a real estate investor. So initially my journey started with just acquiring traditionally, and just acquiring one property, turning it into a rental. And I started that fairly early. I was actually 21 when my partner and I, at the time, we were in university, and we acquired our first rental property. So because of that experience, and without knowing what other doors were open, especially in the creative side, I always kept these thoughts in the back of my mind. I also thought that I needed to be a real estate agent to be able to do real estate at a greater scale. And of course, I thought that I needed to have financing through the bank. So this really held me back from building a portfolio a lot earlier on. And so as you guys probably know, especially knowing agreement for sale, all those things are not true. So this is actually a picture of myself and my family immigrating to Canada. I was 4 years old. We came here from Chile. And, you know, at the time it was a huge transition. Although I was 4, I remember it quite clearly. And one of the biggest impacts that I had as an immigrant to Canada is that we rented my whole life. And so we moved around a lot. And I always had this desire for a home, for having that stability. And so for me, having a home and getting into real estate always had more of a feeling to it than just for the profitability side of it, but just the impact that having a home could have in people's lives. So I actually did everything that I needed to do according to what I was told growing up to be able to acquire those things. So, you know, I went and got a university degree. I became a social worker. I worked with the government of Alberta for 13 years, and I acquired everything that I set out to do in a very short period of time. So in my early 30s, I had the house, the cars, and everything paid off and traveling. But despite acquiring all these things that I was told would bring me happiness, I felt this huge sense of emptiness, actually. And at that time, I was really questioning the purpose of my life. I had 4 kids at the time and just felt really lost. You know, like I said, I had all these material possessions that I was told, you know, were meant to make us fulfilled, but I really did not feel that way at all. So I actually had this life-changing experience that happened to me down in Los Cabos, Mexico. I went on a trip shortly after my last son was born. And I had always had this desire to go surfing. So at the age of 38, I actually went and signed up for this surf lesson. And I was actually the only adult in this group of 5. Everybody else was teenagers and young kids. And it was this transformational experience for me because it really made me regain like this spark of life and this realization that no matter what age or what situation we're in, whether, you know, we have children or we have a traditional job or whatever it is, that doesn't mean we need to stop dreaming and living out our life and things that we have set out for ourselves. And at this point in my life, I was really contemplating and had this huge pull to increase my portfolio in real estate. And so this was one of the things that really reawakened all of those desires and many other goals that I had to go and accomplish them. So it was really transformational for me. So when I came back from that trip, I actually went kind of crazy in terms of education. I started to invest in myself. And so I participated in a lot of coaching programs, including with Robert Kiyosaki, with Jack Canfield. And I took also a real estate investing program out of the States because I got to the point where I was like, I want to do this full time and I want to learn it as quick as possible. So I invested in myself and just dove in, and it was a huge commitment. I was still working full time for the government. I was doing shift work. So anytime that I was off shift and not working, I was working in real estate. So it was quite a sacrifice for about 2 years. And then eventually I quit that job and just started doing this full time. So one of the most impactful experiences that I had was actually about 5 months into my real estate coaching. I was able to wholesale a property here in Calgary. And in that first transaction, I was able to make $20,000. So at this point, I had made huge changes in my life. I had left my ex-partner, so I was restarting my life with 4 kids. And so this amount of money for me was very significant in what I was trying to create. And it also just gave me that realization that, you know, what I had read, what I had heard about real estate and building your wealth was 100% true. And so, of course, I was really motivated. So after this, what I did is so again, if I just put this here, if you wanted to learn more about my journey, I actually wrote a book that I published in January called Dream the Impossible, because journaling has been life-changing for me. And I started at a very young age, but you can read more about my story with regards to that in that book, or more about, you know, my personal life journey. But so what I did after that first wholesale deal, I actually partnered with a couple people, and we started investing down in the States in Columbus, Ohio. So we started buying duplexes and fourplexes, renovating them, and then turning them into rentals. Now, the price points for any of you that have ever looked into the US, the price points in Columbus, Ohio, at that time in particular, they were insane. We were buying duplexes for $20,000, fourplexes for anywhere from $70,000 to $85,000. So, you know, as a Canadian, comparing the price points that we were dealing with here in Alberta, it was a no-brainer to want to be part of that market. The challenge and what that experience taught me, though, is that when you are doing these type of foreign investing, you have to have a solid team on the ground. And so eventually, about a year and a half into being into that market, I pulled away and I came back. Not that I came back physically, because I was always living in Canada. I was still working full-time at my government job, but I left real estate investing in the States and started to look at the market here in Alberta. And to be honest, it was very difficult for me to wrap my head around wanting to invest in the Canadian market, especially in a traditional way, because of the price points and the cash flow opportunities that existed in the US. But what happened was then a friend of mine at the time introduced me to this concept of agreement for sale. And as soon as I was able to do my first deal and my second deal, well, it was just a game changer for me, because I realized at that point, this was the best way to get into this market with minimal amount of cash up front. I wasn't having to qualify you know, at the banks for these mortgages. And of course, you know, I was able to build my inventory quite fast. So again, for any of you that, I'm sure we all know what traditional real estate investing, this is usually a presentation that I do for people of all different levels, but you know, typically you have to get a mortgage, go through a bank or a private lender. And then of course, the biggest thing is you typically have to have 10 to 20% down, which again, coming from investing in the US and Columbus, where we were buying the properties at less than what we have to put for down payments here on properties, right? So it was a huge kind of shock to my system. So this is when I started doing the creative real estate and recognizing, you know, I could do this without having to qualify for a mortgage, with little to no money down. And then the other great thing is I didn't need to obviously have my realtor license to be able to do that. So I started doing agreement for sale, which for anybody, if you want to look into the US market, this is called subject to. It's also very common down there. It's used widely in the US. The difference between the two is that in the US, you actually get title to the property. So the mortgage still stays in the homeowner's name, but you actually get title. So it's a little bit different, but ultimately the process is about the same. And again, for any of you who don't know agreement for sale, you're leaving in Canada, usually the homeowners, their name stays on title, and you would go and register a caveat on title to make sure that your interest is protected. The beautiful thing, of course, is you can decide on the term of that agreement with the homeowner, which is what I really love, because of course, depending on their situation, the property details, you know, are they in situations where they owe more than what their property is worth, then we can do agreements for over 10 years to be able to take that time to recover from any deficit that they might have. So it's really quite beautiful. And then of course, as I mentioned, in Canada, we register our interest in title. And then in the US, you get to take over the title. And of course, again, if many of you know this strategy, you know that you also get to be a beneficiary on the insurance. So if anything happens, again, your interest is protected. So what I did is I started doing this, like I said, in 2018. In that first year, I acquired 23 properties. Last year in September, I started Kardia Real Estate, which is the company that I founded and I'm the CEO for. In the last year, we have acquired over 45 properties just from this this short year doing agreement for sales. Now, on top of that, the beautiful thing and what really excited me is that actually in 2014, I bought a condo, an investment condo down in Los Cabos, Mexico. It was meant to be an Airbnb. And when they finished building it, which was in 2016, the condo unit was completed, but all the amenities weren't done. So I got this beautiful condo on a pile of dirt. And so I was like, well, I definitely can't Airbnb this. So I leaned into one of my friends down there who's a civil engineer. And I said, do you know any local that would want to rent it? And he ended up renting it for me because at that time he was doing a lot of new builds in Cabo. And so from that moment, I always had this desire of doing more in the market down there. And I didn't know at what point I would get into the Mexican market. And so last year, this friend of mine, the one that was renting my condo, he actually reached out to me and he said, I have a piece of land that I think we can do some developments in. So I flew down to Guadalajara, which is on the mainland. I went to look at the developments that he has done. He's a third generation developer, and met with his other partners, the architect and designers and the people that he has been working with. And immediately we were able to see enormous opportunities. And so coming back from that trip, which happened in August of 2019, we had 2 land opportunities where we structured creative deals. So what we did, we started with the 2, and we just did joint ventures actually with the landowner, the developer, and myself. And so the landowners, they put up their property without us having to give anything down. And the agreement that we have made is that through the pre-sales, they get a % of their land value. And then as we close, they get the rest of their land paid off to them. And with some of them that have given us, let's say, a better price for the land, we have also given them an incentive of a small % of profit share at the end. So this has been a really, really eye-opening experience, and really an opportunity to recognize that even if you've done agreement for sale on the residential side, it is really easy to transfer that into the commercial side, especially if you have, like I said, landowners that are open to negotiate with you, and just create that creative structure, right? So right now we actually have 5 land development projects in Mexico, 4 in the Baja area and 1 on the mainland in Guadalajara. And because of COVID, we had a bit of slowdown in terms of things moving the way we wanted them to, mainly because everything kind of stopped. But now we are projected to start our construction within the next 3 weeks on several of the different projects. They're kind of in different places in the process, but it has been really exciting, like I said, to be able to experience this and just see what is possible. And so from doing that, what I have been able to do with my team here in Calgary, especially right now, there's tons of opportunity. I think somebody mentioned it in this call, there's a lot of investors, like seasoned investors, that have held rental properties for a long time, whether they're duplex or multifamily, that are looking to get out. And so right now we are all actually negotiating a lot of opportunities in the commercial side, also with land development. So right now, for example, we're negotiating a land opportunity where in Canmore, where we've asked the owner to be able to essentially do an agreement for sale with us until we can get started on our construction and have our permits in place and everything. So then we can put the funding in place, get that going, and obviously start doing our pre-sales as soon as we get all our permits approved and everything. So it has been really exciting to see that happen. We have a multi-unit property in Banff that we are also in negotiations on right now. We have an 8-unit, 2-building it's an interesting land, but it has these 2 buildings that are fully rented out in Victoria on Vancouver Island. So like I said, this is a great opportunity to get into these type of structures. And if you want to do it creatively because you don't have all the capital to, to invest into it yourself, there's many ways that you can structure this to make it work. So just wanted to stay on that slide for a little bit, just to share where this whole thing of developments came forward for me. And it has been truly amazing, just all the opportunities that have shown up for us. So, okay, so let's continue on here. So again, this might be a repeat for a lot of people that do agreement for sales, but mainly the way that we acquire a lot of these properties, especially here in Canada, even the ones that are, for example, the one in Banff, the ones in Vancouver Island, we have a property in Fernie that we acquired through agreement for sale. They have all been off-market deals. So we have acquired them mainly through Facebook Marketplace, Craigslist, and Kijiji. And they are our best resources. The second one is realtors. We build very solid relationships with realtors. So they often send us leads where, their clients just don't have enough equity to be able to list with them, or they're in a pre-foreclosure situation, which of course, we'll probably start to see more of that. So again, this is just a repeat of what I mentioned, but that's how we get our leads. And then this is a document that everybody on my team uses. This is just the way we run our conversations with owners, whether they're, multifamily or single family home, we use the same document, and it just serves as also a script so we can have fluid conversations with the homeowner and then understand when to move into the section of negotiating leaving their mortgage in place. So it has been really beneficial for our team to have that. This is an example of the contracts that we use. Now, we have the lawyer that I work with out of Calgary. We have been working together since I started doing agreement for sale. We initially started using the traditional 13-page or 30-page agreement for sale contract. But then he took that and just made a really abbreviated version, you could say, where we have the residential purchase contract and addendum in the finance schedule, just to keep it very streamlined for the homeowners. And it's been very effective for us. These are just some examples of the type of properties that we've acquired. And we actually, in my portfolio, I would say 40% of our properties we acquired with zero down. So these are people that, again, they either don't have much equity, or sometimes their property is, they owe more, on their mortgage than what the property is currently worth on the market. So they're open to us just taking it over with zero down. And then again, depending on how underwater they are, we hold it for a longer period of time, so that then we can recover if we want to sell the property. But what we've been doing with a lot of those properties, like this one, for example, that has the title of Beltline, we converted that to an Airbnb because it's in a great location, downtown Calgary, where there's actually, it's close to 17th Ave, which is close, similar to, I believe it's White Mud in Edmonton. There's a lot of action and movement there. So it does extremely well. And so we're just going to hold that property, continue to cash flow it, and then just convert it into our an ongoing Airbnb for our portfolio. We do get a lot of single family homes. Those also typically get taken very quickly. And the exit strategy that we use on these properties is rent to own. So rent to own, we have also designed this very different than the traditional. We do not do lease with the option to buy. We do a rent to own. So our rent to own clients actually sign an agreement to purchase. We also give our rent to own clients a portion of the principal pay down. So they're incentivized by, feeling that this is more like a mortgage payment than just a rental payment. And the other beautiful thing, the way that we've been able to make this very successful is part of our team is we have a credit specialist and a mortgage broker who work with these individuals right from the beginning. So as soon as they're applying to go into rent to own, they go through that process so that we have full clarity of what they need, whether it's credit help or they just need time to qualify for a mortgage. Okay. And then we actually recently expanded into the US. So on our team, we have this lady, her name's Lauren Cohen. She's actually a lawyer from Toronto. She's a cross-borders lawyer and she lives in Florida right now. And so she works with any of our Canadians that are looking to do US investing. So she helps them structure all their corporation. And also she's a realtor. So she is very highly connected. She's been doing this for over 20 years. And she works with some of the top Canadian real estate investors that I know in terms of creating their corporate structure. And so her and I partnered up in the last 3 months because we saw that there was a huge need for Canadians to get connected to the right people in the US. And that was my experience when I was investing in the US, that like I mentioned at the beginning, the challenge was having the right team on the ground. So it has been wonderful to partner with Lauren because of course she's been there for so long and she has this experience to protect the interests of the Canadian investors. And that's what I wanted to share with everybody. I wanted to give the opportunity for questions because I assume that because we have such a diverse portfolio in terms of commercial and new developments, that perhaps with some of you in the group who are more seasoned investors, or even if you're new and want to know how to get started, that you might have questions. So I'm going to open up the door to, whoops, I don't know what happened there, but I will stop sharing and just open up the opportunities to anybody that has questions.
And make sure you unmute yourself before you ask a question so we can hear you.
I have a question about your rent-to-owns.
Sure.
So with your rent-to-owns, are they coming up with down payment, or what's the usual typical situation with your rent-to-own?
Yes, they have to have a down payment. So with condos and townhouses, it's typically a minimum of $5,000. And with single family homes, it's a minimum of $10,000.
So not based on percentage, actually. And then so from there, do they build more with the monthly payment that they're putting in?
Yes. Yeah.
And then so how do you figure out how to price your house then? Because it could be a couple of years down the road when they're buying it. Do you just forecast, or how does that work?
Yes, we usually calculate a future projected price. So based on what the current market value is, right now the way we do it is we add 3% per year that we hold the property for them. Yeah. And then we've structured it in a way that let's say that, because I often get the question, well, what happens if in the future the price is, it's not worth that price, and then they're trying to qualify for a mortgage and they can't qualify. So what we do is obviously take very calculated consideration in terms of how we acquire that property. So let's say it's a condo and it's depreciated today. Well, if we're going to hold that condo for 10 years, we would, as I mentioned before, we'll either hold it as an Airbnb or as a rental and then convert it to a rent to own the last 3 or 4 years of that contract. So then that way we can have a better feel for, if at any point the market goes up again, then we will either like sell the property when, it's the right time, or then we can convert it to a rent to own and do the price adjustment at that point with the client. So it's all very individualized. So there's no cookie cutter way to do it. It's all dependent on the property, how long we have it, and is there equity in the property, all those type of things.
Hi, Carolyn.
Hi.
It's Lana.
Hi, Lana.
I want to just thank you again for for presenting to our group tonight. I was just wondering, when you do your agreement for sales, do you do sandwich lease?
I'm not even sure what that means. Maybe you could clarify.
When, let's say if the people that have the house lease out to like a rent-own person on the other side. So you're the middleman, sort of.
Oh no, so we don't, we are the middleman in terms of, you know, we have our contract with the original homeowner, and then we are able to obviously lease it to our rent-to-own buyers or convert it to a rental, but we don't typically allow, for example, our rent-to-own buyers to then sublease it or do something like that, unless they've come, unless they come to us and want to do like a joint venture or something like that. But we typically don't allow our tenants to sublease.
I have another question, but I didn't want to hog in case somebody else wants to talk.
No, no worries.
Go ahead.
What did you, sorry, someone wants to go ahead.
No, I just said go ahead.
Oh, okay. Do you ever have homeowners, so if you've done an agreement for lease, do you ever have homeowners that end up coming back into the house? Like, do you sometimes hold the property for them and then put them back in their own home?
I have actually. I had a homeowner, I've actually had that happen just once so far, but she, at the time when we took over her property, she was actually in pre-foreclosure. So I negotiated with the bank to stop the foreclosure. We paid the arrears. We took over the property. And then about 2 months after, she was able to get her job again and be able to afford to be back in the house. So she actually went back into the home, and then just right now she's essentially paying us what we put into the property plus interest to stop the foreclosure and everything. And once that's paid off, then, you know, we're going to terminate the contract.
Oh, that's a nice thing to do.
Yeah. 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 We want to, our intention is to help people. So we're not in it just to, you know, take people's properties and especially when they're going through difficult situations, as many people are right now. Right. So ultimately, if people, you know, their life situation changes and they're able to afford the property again, then we will work with them to get their property back.
Great. It's a win for everyone then.
Yeah,
really.
exactly. Yeah, that's the model that we use, is creating win-wins for everyone.
Carolyn, I have a question for you.
Sure.
What percentage of the accumulating down payment for future down payment do you write in the contract to be refunded back to your tenants should they not proceed with the actual purchasing of the property?
So in terms of the principal pay down that we give them a portion of, they and legally, with the way that the contract is written, even their down payment, if they were to terminate and not follow through, let's say, you know, they didn't follow through with the recommendations from the credit specialist or the mortgage broker, you know, legally we wouldn't have to give them anything back. But I have had 2 situations where I had rent-to-own buyers that their life situation changed dramatically from when we first got started. One of them, the couple went through a separation. So we ended up giving them their down payment back. They did not get the principal payment back, but they did get the down payment. And same with another client who, she was working with our credit specialist, but her credit was, you know, she had to do a lot of work to be able to get it to the point of qualifying. And she ended up deciding that she would much rather go and do a bankruptcy than work on fixing her credit. So we actually ended up giving her down payment back as well. So.
Now, I was under the impression, though, that a portion of that, say, for example, the fair market rent is $1,400. Mm-hmm. They're paying $1,700, so $300 of that is accumulating. But according to the insurer's guidelines, doesn't a portion of that have to be refunded, or else when they go to purchase it, they can't do it?
So we don't actually structure our properties that way. So if the current market rent is $1,400 and that's covering our cost to hold. So typically what our rent to own buyers are paying is the cost to hold that property. We're not cash flowing on the monthly, on any of the monthly income, nothing like that. We don't add a lease option to the payment, nothing like that. So what happens is we are actually crediting them a part of the principal pay down that we are getting. So in our finance schedule, we write it in there that, for example, if the mortgage and taxes, sorry, if the mortgage is $1,400, they're getting $300 a month from that credited towards their, towards buying the property at the end.
And that's never been a problem at the end of the term for that particular tenant to get a mortgage?
No, it hasn't.
Wow, okay.
Yeah.
Hi there. Really nice presentation. Thank you.
Thank you.
This agreement for sale, I mean, it's such a neat concept. It sounds almost like a property management concept. Is it? Like it's sort of saying, look, we can manage your property for you. We can make the payments. We can get all this taken care of. And then we can take it off your hands. Is that kind of what it's more about property management than a purchase?
No, because it is the contract itself is a legal purchase. So at the end of the day, let's say in that 3-year term, even if, for example, my exit strategy, my rent to own buyer falls through, or I don't have a renter, I'm still legally required to close on that property. So it's not, you know, I don't really have many options to be able to get out of that contract unless they are defaulting in some way based on the terms of the contract, which the only time that has happened to me has been if a homeowner stops paying the mortgage, right? And then I find out from the bank that they have defaulted. But the way that we protect ourselves with that is that right from the beginning, we get these clients to sign a power of attorney so that we can contact the banks if they are in default, and then we can negotiate directly with the bank to continue to make those payments.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Hi, Carolyn.
Hi.
It's Gert here. Excuse me. Would it be safe to say here, just to strip it all down, that an agreement for sale is basically a offer to purchase with a long-term
Yes. Yeah, that's how I describe it, especially to realtors, because often they struggle to wrap their head around it. And I just explain it exactly like that. I say, this is just like, for example, if you go into a show home and you're buying a brand new build, and when you're doing that, you're signing an offer, an agreement to purchase that's future dated. You're putting down a deposit and you're saying in 8 months, 12 months, I'm going to close on that property and get my own mortgage. So this is ultimately exactly the same, except for you have a longer, what's that? A longer term, and you have, like in our case, the way we structure them, we have an addendum with a lot of terms that really describes the detail of that relationship that you're going to have with that owner during that term of the contract.
You put a caveat on your AFSs too, or?
Yes, on all of them.
Okay.
Hey, Carolyn, I want to thank you too for the presentation. As I just mentioned, I did my first AFS agreements in Belize. And
yeah, that's exciting. Congratulations.
Yeah, and so it's interesting to hear about other markets. It's a little different. In Belize, I did it because it's freehold title like Canada and the US. So it's a little better than Mexico, where I was considering. I was a little afraid of the system there. But I did want to mention one thing that I did. I didn't know anything about AFSs. So my first thing I did is I talked to a realtor that deals specifically with investors and knows AFS deals and has done them before. And then I also dealt with Barry McGuire. I know his wife Dawn is on the phone, because I didn't want to deal with anyone that didn't know it. And I did the same thing in Belize. I dealt with a realtor who deals with investors, and he's from Calgary. So I feel like you said the same thing. You want someone who's from Canada or that knows how Canadians work. And I think that's kind of a critical thing when you're doing creative strategies as well.
Yeah. Was that Big John Peterson?
No.
A realtor that helped you?
No, it's through RE/MAX. It's Will Mitchell's brokerage, but I'm dealing with Trevor, who is one of the realtors that works under Will from Calgary. So they're both Canadians, and that's
Yeah,
I would
interesting.
say really, really nice. And Will Mitchell has a book, so I've been sharing it a lot of people, and it's been neat. I had a lady just reach out to me. I didn't even know who she was. It was from someone in my network from my newsletter from Calgary, and she said, "I hear you are into tiny homes and you're building one in Edmonton." And then I said, "Yeah, and I'm also building one in Belize." And then she's like, "Oh my God, I need to talk to your realtor. I want to do a tiny home village." And I'm like, oh my God, I get all these connections
Oh,
with all
yeah.
different people, and tiny home villages are kind of it's been a thing that I've been really excited to do with,
Yeah.
you know, and in Belize it's very common. I'm not sure in Cabo if that's a thing yet, but
Well, actually so after I built this, this condo there, because I was traveling so much down there, one of my goals was to build a home made out of shipping containers. So,
oh yeah.
So that is very common. And we actually have one project that we put on hold because it was going to be fully Airbnb. And of course, you know, a lot of the tourism kind of slowed down, but we're building 8 units of the 21 feet shipping containers. So yeah, no, it's very exciting. The reason I asked about John Peterson is he's a realtor out of Calgary who has built in Belize and in Costa Rica and Tamarindo. So I had visited those locations to see if like to build there. But the only reason I picked Cabo is it's super close. It's like a 3.5-hour flight from Calgary. So
yeah,
I was
and
like,
Belize is more like 5 hours direct
Yes.
from Calgary. So yeah, it's a little bit farther, but it's English is the official
Yes,
language.
exactly.
So all my real estate contracts are in English. So
Yes.
that was the other selling point to me. Yo hablo un poquito de español, pero
Ah, excelente.
so yeah, obviously I'd rather real estate contracts be in English because I cannot imagine trying to navigate that. And the AFS agreements in Belize, I guess it's because it's RE/MAX deals with the developer quite a bit. It's really, really common, and the developer financing is set up through corporations already, and it was very seamless. So the bank and all the payments through credit card. I mean, it was really simple.
Yeah, no, and I agree with you 100%. You do, and as I mentioned, even in the States, if you want to invest in the States, have solid connections that have been referred to you through people that you trust, that you can trust their work ethic and what they've done themselves, because I think that's where you can obviously go south very quickly on any of those type of projects. And so for me, like I said, in Mexico, it made sense. I speak very fluent Spanish, of course, and actually everybody that I work with in Los Cabos is English speaking. So the lawyer, the accountant, the developer, everybody speaks English. All our documents and contracts are in English. So it's been also a very, very easy process, actually.
Carolyn, if we want to get a hold of you, how can we do that?
So you can send me an email. My email is Carolin, so Carolin at Kardia, spelled Kardia, realestate.com.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
.com, right?
Yes.
Cool. Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
I have another question.
Sure.
What books would you recommend to read more on this? Like, where would be a really good resource to start reading more on agreement for sale, etc.?
That's a really great question, because I don't know any books off the top of my head that specifically talk about agreement for sale. I'm not sure if anybody else on here has ever read anything with that kind of structure. Yeah, I'm like trying to quickly scan my brain, but I honestly, I don't know, because it's something that, for example, like I said, I learned it from a friend that had been doing it, who learned it back in 2008, because he had a traditional portfolio and almost lost everything with that crash, and then started doing agreement for sale, and actually had been doing a contract through Barry Maguire. And then I actually connected with Donna and Barry in late 2008, and built a beautiful relationship with them, and took Barry's courses just to get a better understanding of the way that they do it. So I would say that, yeah, they're the best resource in terms of learning the the legal side and all of that of agreement for sale. Yeah.
So who is that again? Barry and Donna and
McGuire.
I saw McGuire.
Yeah, they're on. I think Donna's on this call, right?
Yeah, Don. There's a Facebook group that someone will post it in the chat that Barry and Donna have on with some great info. So I'll get somebody to post it in the chat, and it's a good reference for AFS.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Can I, if we have a moment, I might sound stupid, but can we just run through just a simple scenario? I'm just trying to understand the value. Can I take a couple of minutes and do that? So let's say I have a property and the property is worth $200,000, but my mortgage is $220,000.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm having trouble. I need to get out of this property, right?
Yeah.
So Kardia comes to me, right? You find me somehow, and you come to me, and you say, okay, let's do an agreement for sale. We can't buy this for $220,000. It's not worth that price, but we'll do an agreement for sale. It'll take us 3 years to catch up on the $40,000, whatever number I said, deficit in collecting the rents and so on. And this is how we'll structure it. And after 3 years, when we've caught up, we'll buy it from you. Is that the idea?
So we do get a lot of those type of scenarios, and actually the way we structure those is it's very individualized to those homeowners' needs. So we have some people that they're $20,000, like in your example, in the red, and what we do is we either structure it for a longer hold period, so they don't have to, we'll cover that deficit, but we're going to hold it for 8 or 10 years. And they're okay with that because they know that otherwise it's going to come out of their pocket to be able to sell that today, right? Some other clients who want to do a shorter period, they will agree to actually pay that deficit over the 3 or 4 year period, or they will pay it once we're going to close after that 3 years. They'll pay whatever the deficit is. So there's many different ways that we structure it. Again, it just depends on what's more appealing to those homeowners.
So as a follow-up, 2 things. One, so I'll say both things. One, how is that beneficial to you? And 2, does that owner then have that liability? So if they want, let's say a year later, they want to get another mortgage, they're ready to buy a house, does it stack up against them? Do you have the answers to that?
Yeah, so we have a lot of homeowners that actually they are looking to downsize. We have a lot of homeowners that are looking to upsize because their family has grown. And so through the mortgage brokers that we use, they've been able to get a separate mortgage for that new property as long as it's their principal residence. And we show with our contracts that this property, all the financial expenses are being covered, right? Especially because we provide the financial statement in our contract. So it very clearly shows to the mortgage broker, okay, the mortgage, taxes, insurance, condo fees, everything is being covered by this buyer, right? So like I said, we've never had clients been turned down, of course, as long as they still have employment and those kind of things.
Okay, and second part is, how is that beneficial to you? Because you've bought the property knowing that it's actually, it may be on par, right? Because 2-3 years down the road, it'll become valued what you're paying for it.
Right. So typically those are the properties that, again, we usually, for our structure, we usually hold them for a longer period of time. So typically I have them as rentals for the first 5 or 4 years, and then I convert them to rent to own. But it always, again, at that point, it's going to depend on what the market is doing. So let's say, in 3 years, everything picks up and now that property, I'm able to recover that deficit based on the current sell price that I can sell it for. And I've made all that principal pay down over that 3 or 4 year term, right? So I'm still profiting from that deal, even if I'm selling it just for what they owed at the time that I purchased it, right? I'm not really caring about making, money off of my purchase price because I'm getting that principal pay down anyways over that period of time. And typically those properties, I pick them up at 0 down. So the way I look at it is like in 4 years, I'm making $30,000 on a property that I put no money into it.
And you're able to get like a long period, like 8 to 10 years.
Oh yes. Yeah, quite often.
Wow.
Yeah, because people, like I said, people, they kind of, the way they see it is either they're forced into becoming landlords and they don't want to, or we have a lot of people that tried it for a year and they're so, like even right now I'm acquiring a property, it has a basement suite, it's cash flowing $300 a month. And this gentleman, he was forced to become a landlord because he upsized to a new house and then turned that one into a rental property. And he's been doing it for a year and he's like, I just want to get out. He's like, I don't care that it's cash flowing. I just don't want to deal with this anymore. I don't want to deal with them calling me for whatever. And so there's a lot of people in that situation right now.
One other thing about agreements for sale is it depends on the seller. Like in my deal, I needed cash. So the buyer I have is actually paying $65,000 down, but the normal down payment at 20% would have been well over 100 because it has a garden suite and a main house. It cash flows quite real. Actually, it cash flows like $800 a month. So it's a very profitable property, and I have a shorter close. It's 5 years. And what I did is I wanted it to coincide with the mortgage term because my mortgage penalty would be $15,000. So the buyer actually said, hey, I'd love to buy this property outright. I said, well, if you want to pay the $15,000 mortgage penalty, you can buy it outright. Instead, let's make the AFS close June 2025, which is when my mortgage renews. So that's another thing. And for me, I actually hate selling the property because it cash flows so much, and that's why I built it. But I mean, I need cash. So, you do it just to get the cash. And then I get the rest of my cash in 5 years when it closes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Wow. So you just turned it upside down. You asked for the agreement for sale rather than someone approaching you. You sold the property and you said, let's do it on an agreement for sale.
Yeah, and you can do that. The Mogul Mastermind group that's similar to this, they had their session last week, and they have one coming up this next month that also is talking about agreements for sale, which is kind of odd. I do have that in my newsletter as well. I always talk about this session as well as Mogul's session. And so you can learn from the realtors there. They actually promote the vendor financing deals, and they have them all the time. So that's kind of why I work with them quite a bit on these type of creative deals.
Yeah, I'm actually working with those guys right now on a 5-unit deal out in Edmonton. So they're awesome. They're great to work with for sure. Yeah.
Any more questions out there? Even you want to put them in the chat if you don't want to unmute yourself. Don't be shy.
Carolyn, do you do any kind of course for people on agreement for sale?
I do. I have a course that I actually created. I was working on for the past year and launched it in June. And it's a course to give the basis of the implementation of agreement for sale, because what I started to find is I had a lot of people reaching out to me to help with the process. Like, how do I get on a phone call and negotiate this with the homeowner? How do I, put it under contract? How do I structure this? What makes the most sense? So anyways, I did create a course. It's a group coaching course, and and I have students in there from all over the place, again, because I'm partnered with this lady out of the US. So we have quite a few students in the States too, learning how to do subject to. And and then just, like I said, just learning the basics of how to do an agreement for sale.
Thanks, Carolyn.
You're welcome.
Well, if everybody's too shy to ask, then maybe we'll wrap up there with Carolyn. Mucho
Thank you.
gusto, mucho gusto y muchas gracias.
No, de nada, mucho gusto y gracias a ustedes.
All right. All
Thank
right.
you so much, everybody.
Feels like I should be on holidays with that kind of.
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm missing my trips to Mexico right now, that's for sure.
Buenos dias, buenas noches.
Buenas noches.
Yeah. My family's from Mexico. I get to see lots of them enjoying the beaches. I mean, they got to deal with COVID as well, but they can do it on the beach next to the ocean. All right. So next we have our deals, deals, and services. So I touched on this at the beginning. It's your time to unmute and share with the group something that maybe you have for sale that you think might be a good deal for somebody in the group that maybe you can't take advantage of, or maybe you're looking for someone to go jointly in on a deal with you. Maybe you have a service that somebody in the group might need as a real estate group. So feel free to unmute and give us your pitch. Somebody's got a deal out there, I'm sure.
I'll go first.
All right, Mike.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Mike Fiquette. I manage my family's construction company, Fiquette Homes, which is the longest established construction company in Edmonton, and we are celebrating 9 years of quality building in Edmonton this year. We are an investor-friendly builder. What is that, you might ask? I would love to tell you more about it. We build complete turnkey investment properties for our investor clientele. Did you know that a builder can actually farm out 10% of the contracted work of the build and let other people do the work? Would you like to access that sweat equity on your own with your own trades? Would you like to retrofit an entire fourplex ready for basement suites for you to do yourself at the end because you're a fix and flipper? These are just a few ideas, but I would really, really like to become a more investor-focused builder for you guys. My family has been throughout the decades in the past, very much so, and this is a very new age of investors and the way the money in the market works. I have the ability to finance said projects. I would really like to have further conversations with you guys. I priced out a fourplex that's actually a sixplex with 2 basement suites on a corner lot that someone has an agreement for sale on, and I can build this building for $825,000, like with a 4-car garage in the alley. The numbers really make sense. You can get 6 doors on one property, and I guess to investors this really makes a bunch of sense. I'm a builder. I'm just looking to build a building. It's up to you guys to go and find those distressed properties. If I could be a good fit to fit into your real estate portfolio, if you don't have a builder yet that you can collaborate with, I'd love to be that person. Let's have a further discussion. Mike Fiquette with Fiquette Homes. Thank you.
Thanks, Mike. Mike's family has been in business forever, and so he's if you need a builder, then he's the one. He's definitely one to have a conversation with.
I have something to share. Well, I've shared a lot tonight, but I'm going to share something. It's nothing that has to do with me, but I found a service that no one ever told me about. I've furnished tons of Airbnb units, spent tons of money. I buy blinds for all my rental properties. And then my sister-in-law said, oh, we got the blinds for Granny's house where we're staying through Direct Buy. And I went, and she said, oh, they were a fantastic price. And I'm like, well, that's too expensive. I went there, it was like thousands of dollars to sign up. Yeah, you might get wholesale prices, but I don't want to spend thousands of dollars just to get cheaper prices. And they said, no, it's $500 to sign up and $300 a year. And I went, what? And then I signed up because you could do it for free for 30 days. And we've saved thousands of dollars. So and we're not allowed to tell prices we got. So all I'll say is going into Lazy Boy, I had bought my furniture for my new house. I found bedroom furniture there. I found it on Direct Buy, like the bedroom set was just the bed, I think was $1,000 cheaper. Backsplash tile I got. And then I found out Shanna Badry, who's on the board here, has been a member of this for years, and yet I didn't know about it at all. So it's one of those things that I just wanted to share. And through the referral program, because Tina referred me, she got $200 merchandise credit, so did I. So if you're interested in saving tons of money, so blinds, my new house, I've called Costco, blinds would be $5,200. Let's say I'm saving, I'm not gonna say the number because I'm not allowed, thousands of dollars cheaper for the up-down silhouette blinds from Costco's pricing. So they don't have, kitchen cabinets weren't as great as my contractor who gives me wholesale pricing because their cheapest brand is Kitchen Craft. There are some delays. My sister ordered Ashley furniture. She's not getting it for months till November, December, but you can save a ton of money.
All right. This moment brought to you by Direct Buy.
And I mean, I don't care if people use it. I'm an accountant and I like to save money and I want other people to save money too. I don't care if you go through me to get it, if you know anyone else who has it, or however you access it, however you can save money, do it.
And I wish I would have heard that before we just ordered everything for our bathroom renovation.
Well, and that's what I said. I just furnished like 5 Airbnb units in the last year, and luckily, I mean, I have a tiny home that I'm about to furnish when it's finished building. So, but yeah, I wish I knew about it a long time ago as well. Perfect.
Good information. With renovations, too often people go over budget. Whenever you can find quality stuff at a savings, it's valuable. Anybody else?
I have something.
Yep.
My name is Gert. Besides fixing and flipping and building legal suites, I also have a east troughing business. So if anybody needs east troughing, please hit me up. However, don't do it till next spring now because the snow is going to be flying here in a couple of weeks here, and I really don't want to be doing east troughs in the cold.
I'd like to see you do east troughs in the cold.
No, no hope in hell, buddy.
Anybody else? Any contractors out there? Any plumbers, electricians? I find some of those trades guys didn't like Zoom. There was always a few in the room when we were live.
They're so hard to drag here, man. I normally can drag a bunch, but I can't on Zoom.
That's all right.
I can talk about my deal then.
Yep, go ahead.
So those that don't know me, my name is EREIA. I've been investing in Edmonton for the last 7 years, and we just closed on a brand new 6-unit building, and the numbers are looking really good now that we have. Literally, she just fell asleep, and now she's up. Okay. So yeah, we are looking for joint venture partners on our 6-unit building now that it's closed and we know all the numbers. Yeah, yeah. So I'll just give you the highlights. We're looking at CMHC financing. Oh, I'm so sorry. CMHC financing of 1.45%, and so that's going to give us like a cash flow about $1,900 a month. And so yeah, whether you're interested in like finding out more or if you're doing something yourself, then reach out to me and I'll put my info in the chat. Oh, she's quiet.
Please do, sorry.
Too many things at once. But yeah, let's put a blurb in the chat, my contact info. Yeah, just reach out. Yeah, whether you're interested in doing something yourself, like it's a brand new building in the south side of Edmonton. It's going to be fantastic long-term buy and hold. So yeah, let me know if you're interested.
Perfect, thank you. Anybody else?
I can go next.
Sure. Go ahead, Rakesh.
My name is Rakesh Sabrawal and I'm a mortgage specialist with BMO. And so we do all kind of a financing definitely for the, not in the big ones, but up to 4 units at a time. And, you know, the banks have a little bit of a tight rules, I understand, but they work out. And if it is a bigger one, I can introduce you to the commercial lending as well. There are certain deals, and not only you, your friends, family, anybody needs the services can contact me. I can leave my email and contact number in the chat if anybody needs it.
Thank you, Rakesh. We'll give anybody another quick moment. Otherwise, we'll wrap up. All right. Everybody was a little shy. Some nights I'm like, okay, no more. There's too many people. Not so much tonight, but that's fine. We are running great for time. So we get to, last month went a little long, and this is a little short. So we can continue our evenings. So thanks for coming out. Hopefully you got some good information from tonight. There's always some good nuggets for everybody to take home. And if you have any questions, reach out to us through either the Facebook page or through the meetup. You can always reach out.
Can you hear me? Check one.
Barefoot Bob? Do you have something to share?
What's that? Can you hear me okay?
Yeah.
Hello?
Yeah.
You can hear me, okay. I just posted in the thing here. It's gone up on MLS now as well, but I've got my six bedroom house that's available for sale now as well. It's a 3-bedroom suite up and down. So yeah, 3 bedrooms down, 3 bedrooms up, separate little suite downstairs. I posted a link in the third. So I'm not looking to sell it cheap, as I know that's what everyone here is looking to do, is looking for good deals. But but it is available. It's a great property here in town. It's empty downstairs. I've got tenants with me upstairs.
Perfect. All right. We squeeze one more deal in there. All right. So, like I said, that's a wrap for tonight. Stay tuned for information on our next meetings. I don't anticipate us being live until maybe the new year. So we have a few more Zoom presentations, and we have some good ones. So stay tuned. We have some really good presenters coming up, really taking advantage of the fact that we can have presenters from all over the country, hopping on and coaching us on something. So stay tuned for the next few months, and we'll help you learn something new and go from there. All right, guys, that's all.
Just in case anybody wants to know,
Yeah.
Just in case anybody wants to know, the speaker for November is Christine Wilk, and she wrote the book with Don Campbell on the real estate cycle.
Does anyone have any experience in Europe?
What was the question?
Does anyone have any experience in Europe? Because I'm looking for a new lawyer.
Sprechen Sie Deutsch?
No, it's in Czech.
Nothing in Czech. Do have contacts in Germany though.
Yeah, same here. Germany, Austria, Holland, I got the contacts, but this one is Eastern Europe and they do things differently. It's Roman law.
Yeah. No, unfortunately I don't. Maybe somebody else here has.
Well, thank you for having me. Have a great evening and take care. Bye.
I just want to say thanks to Dan, Ivan, and the presenter. As always, great meeting, very information, good information. Love doing these things on a monthly basis. A lot nicer when I don't see your ugly mugs.
That hurt, Gert.
Except for you, you're a goddess.
Oh, thank you.
Your poor wife, Gert, your poor wife.
She's in the next room. She understands.
Great job, everyone.